Hey, before I get into this video, please note that I will spoil the events of Chapter 6 of Xenoblade 3's main story, and also the ranking of all previous heroes I've done in this series. So if you don't want spoilers, consider throwing this into your watch later folder so you can come back when you're ready. Alright, let's get into the video. Welcome back to Ranking Every Hero, the series where I, rank every Xenoblade 3 hero. Today we'll be ranking everyone's favorite unhinged defender, Ashera. But first, let me explain the rules. Okay, if you haven't watched any other videos in the series, I'll be ranking each criteria, which are character, quest, and class, out of 5. And then, averaging out all 3 of those scores to get a final score. Based on what score they get, they'll be put on a certain tier on the tier list, which I've put the criteria for on screen. Okay, rule explaining done, let's get started. Let's start with character. This is judged based on the character themselves, like their personality, character design, etc. Ashera is a very unique character personality-wise. Imagine Uni, but if she loved fighting and was even more unhinged than she already is. I'm going to be real, I was not a huge fan of Ashera's character until her Ascension quest, but we'll get to that in depth soon. She truly is a character that has a lot to her and is well written, you just have to finish her entire questline to get there. Her character design isn't anything too crazy. Has some cool Kavesi armor, but not really anything that would stand out in a major way. Her red eyes stand out comparatively to everyone else in the game though, so I'll give her credit for that. Character is pretty good based on her story alone, 3.5 out of 5. Quests are rated on how well they tell the character's story and how fun they are. Since Ashera is a commander of a colony, I will count all quests related to Colony 11. Okay, maybe I shouldn't give too much credit to Ashera. She goes pretty hands-off for the most part on the colony after Noah's group shows up. But it wasn't like she had too tight of a reign on them anyway if they were willing to attack her because the consul told them to. She does stay in contact with the troops and answers their calls, so congrats for doing the bare minimum. Anyway, you soon find doing the quest that all of the soldiers in Colony 11 are all castaways and people who didn't really have any other home before Colony 11 took them in. As such, you get some real interesting characters, even some that seem more unhinged than Ashera is, like that one guy who shouts at everything for no reason. I do have to say though, it makes them stand out against all the more orderly colonies out there. Ashera's hero and ascension quests are interesting. As I mentioned earlier, in her hero quest she basically brute forces her way back into her own colony through the front gate. She then embarrasses the Mobius in charge and then doesn't kill her. This upsets Uni quite a bit, understandably, which causes her to call Ashera a freak for living life the way she does. Ashera just lives to kill and wants to fight consistently, not really caring if she lives or dies. Ashera's Ascension quest though is one of the best in the game in my opinion. It really ties her character back together, because what good is a character if it doesn't have a bit of trauma? Turns out that Mobius R is back for another round, and challenges Noah's group and Ashera to a duel, or whatever that thing is. However, Ashera isn't feeling so hot, getting flashbacks of her seemingly getting executed and having a bad pain in her neck. Uni is the first to notice that something isn't right, but Ashera says she's fine. Unfortunately, getting stabbed in the back and getting turned into a Mobius puppet isn't quite fine. However, Uni has a stroke of genius, calling back to something Ashera said about there not being friends or foes in a fight to the death, and shoots her right in the chest. Somehow, this gets her back to her senses and they clobber Mobius R and W. And honestly, Mobius W kinda deserves it because what kinda helmet is this? Who at the Mobius design team signed off on this? After this scuffle, Uni and Ashera have a heart-to-heart moment where Ashera reveals that she knew the Mobius cycle of life and death long before Noah's group did. She ended up making it to Homecoming in a previous life where they hadn't made off-seeing a thing yet. So they just executed you for fun, which explains the pain in her neck. She then says that the reason she fights like she does is because she wants to control her destiny, how she dies. Uni finally comes to understand why she acts like she does, and agrees to kill Ashera if she asks, as long as Ashera takes Uni with her. Ashera also realizes that Uni has a memory of a previous death too, as Uni reminds her that their lives aren't just their lives. People around them would be affected by their deaths too, convincing Ashera to keep fighting on. I see why people ship Uni and Ashera now. It truly is a great questline. The hero quest wasn't really that great, and Monolith Soft's obsession with locking 2 minutes in quests came up twice, but the Ascension quest is one of the best, 3.75 out of 5. For class, I rated on how fun and useful the class is. Pretty simple. For Lone Exile, this is built as a high damage defender. You're meant to get aggro and be tanky, but also deal out a lot of damage too. She has some pretty typical defender stuff, like skills that increase aggro in some way, and stuff that gives her more tankiness, like Natural Selection, which decreases damage by 30% when below 30% health. However, she has a situationally good skill in Maniac that increases her damage by 50% when attacking higher level enemies. This is only really useful in the main game and when fighting super bosses, but still is useful to have. Ideally, you are just spamming arcs to keep aggro and dishing out a ton of damage through canceling and stuff. This will require more healers to keep you healthy since the trade-off of more damage is being one of the less tanky defenders, but if you can take them out before they can take you, it doesn't really matter, right? A good defender class, 3.5 out of 5. By combining all three scores, we get a 3.6 for Ashera. That's enough to put her in A tier. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. Less than 5% of my viewers are subbed. Subscribing is free and it helps support the channel a lot. Also, consider leaving a comment. I read every comment, even the 2,000-word essay ones. But with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are, and this is Crystalized, signing out. You're a real Crystalized fan for saying after the outro, but you might have noticed that I changed the ranking tier graphic, and that's because I realized that October Noah was really stupid, because if you got a certain point total, you could actually get 2 tiers at once, which really doesn't make sense. So I just changed it so where now, regardless of what point total you get, you're only eligible for 1 tier, and no heroes are affected by this, but I just did this so there will be no confusion going forward. Also, the graphic looks nicer now, so that's cool too, and yeah, I don't know how to end this, so, bye.